I've got quite a small stool to recover, which is quite an easy project to do. It won't take very long at all. But I need to find out what's going on underneath the cover first. So this one's got to come off. So first of all, I'm going to take the trim off from around the edge, and that should come off quite easily because it's just glued on. So, oh, literally just pull it off. Sometimes these are tacked on and sometimes they're stapled, but that's quite an easy one. There might be a staple just in the end there. We'll pull it off. And there's nothing wrong with being a bit brutal with these, as you can see. Okay, if I turn this over, you'll see that the outside cover, this velour stuff, is stapled on, so the staples need to come out. This is the perfect tool for getting staples out, because you simply push it underneath the staple and lever them out one by one. I'm going to lift those up all the way around and then use my pincers to ease the rest of them out. And again, you can be quite brutal with it because those have been put into last, so they're going to be, some of them are going to be tough to get back out. But using the right tool means that you're not going to split the wood underneath. I don't want to split this wood, particularly as when you can turn it upside down, you can see it. So just be careful because that slips. There it is. So I'm just going to take out the last of the staples with my pincers. And this is like a voyage of discovery, because what you'll realise when you're unveiling a piece of furniture like this is just how old it is. And this one I think will date back to around about the 1930s, just before the Second World War. And what you'll also see is the different changes of fashion. Now the cover that's on it here has probably been on, I don't know, for about 20 years or so. And it's been reupholstered at some point with this foam, which is quite modern. But as you delve deeper, this is the original covering underneath. What you'll also see on the inside of the leg is the original wood, which at some point has become unfashionable and has been repainted in the cream colour. And then again, some time ago, that's been stressed or given what would have been the original shabby chic kind of look, maybe in around about the 1950s. So it's had quite a long story to tell. If this stool could talk, it would be very interesting. Now I've just got the final piece of fabric to take off the corners. Do make sure that the staples are put away, taken out of here, because they will hurt if you stick your finger into them, and make sure that none of them drop down into the actual cushion itself. Now I think under there, so it's holding that in place. It could be a staple or it could be a tack, but we'll see if we can force it out. Because I can't quite see it at the moment. Here's a tack, that's gone. So then the cover should come off. So again, those are all my staples. Make sure there's none sticking out. I can spike myself on. Oh, that's just dropped off, that's lovely. That can be thrown away. And I'll just clear the rest of my staples out of the way. Now then, I'm going to leave this foam on, and the stool is quite padded enough. The reason this padding has been put into the corners is to simply build those corners out to be a little bit more square, but I don't think I need those. So under here, that's the original foam. It's a little bit crumbly, and then the original hessian underneath the side, but I want to leave that in place because it's not going to crumble underneath my fabric. Now I'm going to modernise this somewhat, and I'm going to use a gingham fabric, which I've already cut to size, and basically my size means that the fabric needs to go underneath both sides of the stool, or you can use the previous fabric as a guide, and underneath both sides this way, and then all I need to do is staple that on in the same manner that the last one came off. So this being a check, I need to make sure that my checks are square, because that would look very odd if they weren't. Once they're square, I need to turn the whole stool over, and then I'm going to staple first of all across the side from middle to middle. I'm going to turn over the fabric to create a hem so I don't see any raw edges, and it keeps it nice and neat on the underside. And I'm going to put one staple at that side. That's sticking up just a little bit because it's a deep staple. I can hammer that down, it's not a problem. Come around to the other side, keep it nice and taut, and the next staple is going to go in symmetrically opposite, and then either side here, going up to the leg, staple in, up to this leg, keeping that as tight as I can, and staple in. I'm not hammering those staples in yet because they may need to come out if I need to re-stretch the fabric if it's not quite taut enough. So again, up to the leg, staple in. Keep it stretched this way as well as over the stool, and staple in. So if I just turn that over, you'll see already it's nice and tight and smooth. Then I need to do the same in the other direction. But I'm going to take care of the leg areas first. And this is where a little bit of folding comes into practice, because I want to fold the fabric around the leg, and then a little bit like a birthday present, fold the corner in so it's nice and neat. So I'm just going to have a play with that and see which way looks best. So that's going to be folded under. I think I'm going to take the whole of the fold over to one side so it's enveloped around. So I need to staple underneath the long sides first and do that afterwards. So just the same as the long sides. There's no right and wrong way to doing those corners as long as they look neat. So it's not set in stone that you have to use a particular method. As long as it looks okay from the outside, then that's all that matters. So again, I'm putting 3 staples in the one side, going back to the long side, fold over my raw edge, pull that taut, staple, taut, staple. And I will finish off the underneath with more staples when I'm happy with the way that the top of it looks. That's the most important bit, because that's the bit that you're going to see. So again, I'm going to cut off the excess of this fabric actually, because I don't need the whole of that corner. So I'm cutting a straight line so there's less bulk. And then this is what I want to look nice and neat. So again, I'm going to fold it over, pull it and stretch it until it falls nice and neatly around the edge. To be honest, I'm not too worried about the edges meeting perfectly with the legs. I'd like them to, but I'm not too worried about the folds because I'm going to put a trim around the edge. So again, I'm just turn that over and see how it looks from the top. And again, fold that up. You can trim away any excess fabric as you go, but I'm just going to keep folding that and pulling it. Actually, that looks nicer. Until I've got a nice, neat section. And I'm just going to put one staple in place there. I've actually got a tack sticking out, which I didn't realise was there. So let's get that out of the way. That's it. I think there's another one there. In fact, there's a few in there. I didn't even notice those before, but they can come out. I don't need those because my fabric's going to be stapled around. So I'm just going to do one for now because it makes it easier to manoeuvre the fabric as I go around all 3 of the other corners. So I've done 3 sides. I'm just trying to keep everything symmetrical and neat. I'm just stapling the final corners together, and it looks a bit like wrapping up a Christmas present. And don't worry about this not being perfect, and don't worry about seeing the staples, because I have got some trim. This is just a heavyweight ribbon, not an upholstery trim, but I think it matters. And I'm going to glue that over the top, so I'm not too worried about, I want the top to look neat, and I want it to be stretched, and I want the corners to be neat. It doesn't matter about this side, because that can all be rectified. So I'll just tuck under the final side. Hospital corners, tight as I can, and as neat as I can. That's the bit you're going to see, not the bit around the bottom. So I can afford to tuck that up a little bit. In fact, we'll do that bit first. And stretch it over the wood. Now I think it's a lot easier to recover a stall that's already been covered, because you can see what happened before. So you can see where the tacks were, and you can see where the staples were, and how the fabric was fitted to the frame. So you can kind of follow the same lines. That's the final section. Just roll the raw edge out of the way, keeping that nice and tight and neat. Staple that in place. Now when I'm happy, to make it really sturdy, I'm going to go all around the edge again. Any of the staples that are still sticking up, I'm going to bash them down, and I'm going to put a whole row of staples all the way around the bottom to stop the fabric from coming undone. So on all four sides. May seem like an overkill of staples, but the more you've got in there, the longer the fabric's going to last. And this may be a stall that you don't just put your feet on. It could be something that the kids play with. Or in my case, a very large dog will probably sit on. There. That'll do. So again, some of those staples I didn't quite get in thoroughly because they were quite long. So I'm going to bash them. And make sure I've got enough staples around the corners as well, because I don't want those coming undone. And I think I just need a few more in here. On here. That's going all the way. I actually think that'll be okay. As long as the fabric's nice and tight and none of those staples are going to come loose, that'll be fine. And then to finish it off and to cover up these raw edges, I'm going to glue on some trim. Now, the trim that came off it was upholstery trim. That was quite heavy, and that really does hide a multitude of sins, but it's completely wrong for the cover that I've just put on it. I could reuse that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use this ribbon and some fabric glue. Now this glue, once it dries, is not going to go anywhere. So it's very strong, and it's perfectly okay for gluing fabric onto upholstery. So I'm going to cover the whole of the ribbon. This is quite time consuming. In the glue, make it nice and even, and make sure that my glue goes to both of the edges of the ribbon, and smooth that over. Now, although this glue dries clear, it dries shiny. So don't put so much on that it squeezes out the side. It's better to put too little on, and then at least you can fill in the gaps after it's dried. But as I say, if it does dry on the fabric where you can see it, it will be shiny, so you will see it. So this is an important bit to get right. So I'll just do a little bit to start, and then show you how I'm going to apply. So I'll have my pin cushion, and I'm going to start just inside one of the corners, in fact at the corner. So I need to take that bit of glue away because you'll see that as it dries. And because it's check fabric again, I need to keep my trim straight with the check. You've got a few minutes to manoeuvre it if you don't get it right first time, and then press it down, and then just ever so often put a pin in there, just loosely, to hold that in place. So I'm just glued up to here for now. So I'll put another pin here. And then carry on gluing. Just to warn you when you're putting your pins in through this glue, I said it is strong and it will glue the pins into the fabric. So you may have to be ready with your pincers because the glass heads will come off your pins and you'll have to pull the stalks out. So make sure you've got enough spare pins because these are going to be broken. So I'm just doing the final corner, again spreading the glue out as evenly as I can. And around the corner, covering over the staples. Just need a little bit more glue, not quite there yet. Then I'm back to the beginning. Still got time to manoeuvre it. The main thing is to keep that corner covered, and although I'm trying to keep the ribbon in line with the checks aren't perfectly straight now. I've distorted the fabric over the stall, but I don't think that matters too much. Now when I get to the end here, I'm going to cut it off with about 1 inch to spare, and to make a neat end I'm going to fold it over and just overlap like so. So I've already got glue on the inside, that's stuck. I just need a generous amount of glue here. I'll put some extra just on there, just to make sure it stays right to the edge, and hold that in place. I'm wiping off any excess glue because I don't want that to go shiny, and I'm just going to put one last pin right in the end to keep that stable. Now that's going to take only about half an hour or so to dry, then I can start taking the pins out. And then I've got, from what was quite an old-fashioned green velvet stool into something that looks modern and fresh and brand new again. It's put life back into something that had been ignored for a long time. That's what I love about old furniture.